Hello, everybody. Welcome to Prune Belly Insiders. My name is Frank Walker, and I have Prune Belly Syndrome. And normally, Michael Adams is the host of this show, who interviews other people with Prune Belly about their stories. This time around, Michael is the guest. So I'm going to do my best to play host for this one and see how this goes. So hello, Michael. How are you?
Hey Frank, I'm doing good. Great introduction, by the way.
Yeah.
And don't worry, I'm sure
Oh,
you're going to
thank
do
you.
amazing as a host.
Oh, boy. I'm trying. So let's get right into it. Tell us about yourself.
All right, well, I'm 21 years old. I'm currently a double major at Rowan College of South Jersey. I'm majoring in history and biological health sciences, and I'm hoping to go into medicine, and I'm just here to share my story.
That's great. Oh, that's awesome. So, all right, does anything you want to tell first before I ask anything else?
Sure. I think I'll just get right into my story, but I'm going to start before I was born with everything my parents had told me. Now, my mother had wanted a child for a long time, and unfortunately for a while was unable to get pregnant. So she told me she tried 6 years for me, and then the day finally came, congratulations, you're pregnant with a boy. Unfortunately, in the second trimester, I was actually a twin, and my twin had passed away in utero. They called it Vanishing twin syndrome. And I guess during that time they had done tests, and my mom's OBGYN looked at some of the ultrasounds, had other doctors look at it, and then had diagnosed me with Prune Belly Syndrome. During this time, my mother's OBGYN didn't feel comfortable taking care of me since I was a high-risk pregnancy, so she had recommended an absolutely amazing doctor. I don't think I'd be here today without him, Dr. Robert Debs, one of the doctors who saved my life. So after that, my mother had met with, I think it was like the 5 or 6 local children's hospitals around here. Luckily, one of the hospitals were in the top 10, and that's who we ended up going with. But in that meeting, my mom told me there was a little complication. She had gone to this meeting, and she thought she was just going to talk to the doctor. She didn't know this was picking a hospital right there and then. But unfortunately, that's what it was. So a doctor at this one hospital had told my mom that, she was crying when she found out I had Prune Belly Syndrome, but he had told her, "What are you crying for? You act like you've never heard this before. And honestly, if you're going to continue with this pregnancy, you're just being selfish and you're not thinking of the child's life."
Wow.
Yeah.
Holy cow.
Yeah. But there's one doctor in this meeting, and like I said, it was the one from the top 10 children's hospitals, and he basically said, and was telling the doctor, calm down, and told my mom, there are people who survive with it. It's rare, but there are people. When he comes, we can make him as comfortable as we possibly can, and we'll do everything we can to keep your baby alive. And that's who they ended up going with. So
wow.
during the pregnancy, my mother had to go, I think it was it twice a week, I think it was, to the new OBGYN she had, Dr. Debs. And he had to put a needle through her stomach into mine to place a shunt to drain the urine. So, and my mom, a funny story about this actually, my mom told me that he had to do it 10 to 20 times every visit because she said he would put it in, then I would look down, take my hand, go very slowly and yank it right out.
Holy. Wow.
So my mom said she had to get it done 10 plus times every time she went. It was almost, like I said, it was twice a week. This doctor is amazing. He opened his hours all times of the night for us. I mean, I remember they said they used to go there midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning. He would open the office up. Uh, fast forwarding a little bit.
Mm.
Fast forwarding a little bit to where I was born, my parents had thanked Dr. Debs and had actually given him a plaque with my picture and thanking him for everything he's done. Which I reached out to him recently and had the honor. He showed me what the plaque looked like and what it said. So it was really amazing.
That's great.
So when I was
Wow.
born, I was rushed over to the children's hospital my parents had picked. And you know how they take a baby's temperature, right? How it's the rectum. The nurse, I guess it was, got the thermometer stuck.
Huh?
Yes. And I was going in there for being lethargic. So the thermometer ended up getting stuck up there, and they were using all these tools to try to get it out. My parents eventually got to the hospital, and 5 security guards ended up escorting them back to the doctor. They eventually did get it out after, from what I heard, hours of trying, and thought it would have to be surgery to get it out at one point. But they were able to get it out without surgery, luckily. But here's the thing that I don't understand. After that, the same nurse came in to give me an IV. My dad said, "No, you ain't touching my child. Get the hell out of this room."
And how old were you at this point?
Just born.
Just born. Oh my God.
Yeah, I was rushed right over to the children's hospital.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah. And
wow.
Apparently what had happened after that was I went into surgery, and the doctors had given me something called a vesicostomy, which is basically a hole in your stomach that you can pee through.
Right.
So I had that for a while. I had a feeding tube placed because for some reason, I wasn't able to eat. I don't think they figured it out. I just couldn't eat. So, my kidneys were very low functioning. They were about to fail. So I had been put on the donor list. And fast forwarding at 3 years old, I ended up getting my first kidney transplant. And if that family is watching this video, I do want to sincerely thank you. But what shocked me is, like I said, I wasn't able to eat up till probably 3 years old. Right after that transplant, my dad had given me a Snickers bar just to see if I could eat, because, like I said, the problem was apparently what they told me is I couldn't eat, but what I would do is they'd take me and they wanted me to be able to eat. So they would buy me food, and instead of swallowing it, I would chew it up and kind of spit it out. So I get the taste, but I don't get the nutrition, unfortunately. Again, couldn't figure out why. So at 3 years old, my dad had given me a Snickers bar, and that was the very first thing I was actually able to eat and keep down.
Huh.
Yeah, it's things you would never think.
Wow. Is that because it was soft inside, or?
To be honest, I really don't know. Like I said, I don't know what it was. I was 3 years old, and that's the very first thing I ever ate.
Okay. Wow.
So, going on a little bit more, I'm going to be honest, I don't remember too much, probably from the ages from there all the way up to maybe 12 or 11. But I do remember a couple of things. What I remember is I was able to play sports, but it was like limited contact. So it was like basketball. I did play soccer, luckily.
Wow.
Yeah. So when I was younger, I also had many abdominal plasties, which, in my opinion, and what doctors have told me, had weakened my back muscles, actually, because they what they had done is they stretched my back muscles to help give me stomach muscles, because prunes are normally born with limited to no stomach muscles.
Right.
So I remember in school, I was bullied pretty bad. There's this one school, I'm not going to say the name, and I'm not even going to say where it is because it's easy to track down probably.
Okay.
But the kids were pulling my shirt up on the bus and laughing at me because I had so many scars from all the surgeries.
Right.
I ended up coming home with black eyes and everything else. And it got so bad to the point where my parents had pulled me out of public school and put me in this private school. And I still remember my first day. I went in the office. My new teacher came down and greeted me. And the entire way, because I was on like the second floor from my classroom. Because the way they worked is there were 3 classrooms, one for like elementary school, one for middle school, and then one for high school. Okay. But it was all at the same building, and it was a very small school, so everybody knew everyone and looked out for each other, which to me was very new. But I remember thinking up to way that classroom, what the hell is going to happen that's going to be bad today? I already know I'm going to get bullied for something. What is it going to be? I went up. Yeah. Luckily, that didn't happen. The school was very nice. Eventually, it got to the point where my parents could not pay for the school anymore. So they had called the pastor and had said, look, we just can't afford it. We're going to need to pull Mikey out. So the pastor had gone to the board of directors and voted on it, and it decided to give me a scholarship that his aunt had paid for.
Oh, wow.
Apparently, when his aunt passed away, she had left money to the school for the scholarship. And
That's amazing.
And a funny story about the pastor is when I was born, he actually came up to the hospital and dedicated me, prayed over me. I was very, very close with him. He was like a second father to me. Pastor Woodson Moore, one of the best people. Eventually, my second kidney started failing, so I ended up getting Make-A-Wish. And I ended up using it on a Disney vacation. We stayed at a little resort, Give Kids the World Village. Amazing place, by the way. Ice cream for breakfast and
nice.
New gifts at the house every time we went in. We got free passes to SeaWorld, Disney, and all that. It was a good time, and it was actually our very first family vacation.
That's great.
So when when we were getting ready for my second transplant, obviously my parents went through testing to see if they were a match for me, and both of them were, but the doctors had told me that something rare had happened. My mother was as perfect a match as you could get. They said that has never happened before. Or let me rephrase that. It's never happened. It's not common.
Right.
But so we were getting excited because now we don't have to wait for a kidney and get thousands of phone calls to see if it's a match. But the day of my transplant, well, the first scheduled transplant, I should say, second transplant, first time scheduled. The day they were supposed to do it, I had a sore throat and a bit of a cough. So they decided to hold off on it. And they had found post-transplant lymphoma, which is apparently a type of cancer, I guess. But what had happened was they couldn't do, I think it was radiation and dialysis at the same time. So they said there's this chemo drug we could give you through IV. It's never been used on I can't remember if they said Prune Belly or they said it's never been used on a kidney patient before. So I was the first one to test that drug out, and it worked.
Okay.
It worked. And I actually had my tonsils removed because they had found it in there too.
Wow.
after they said it was gone, they said it could be in other tissues. We won't know until it presents itself. So we went forward with the transplant. The day before, I got nervous, so I ended up going for a walk, 3 o'clock in the morning. And we lived on a highway, so needless to say, may not have been the best idea to do that. I was like in the bike lane. So apparently, next thing I know, I turn around and there's 5 cop cars behind me. Boy, you know where you, son, you know where you live? Because I really didn't know the address because we just moved. So I said, look, I know it's either this address or it's this address. I don't know which one. So they took me to the first one, I said, and that was the house. They followed me in, didn't ask or nothing, just followed me straight in. I don't know if they had to do that or I don't know. Woke my parents up out of a dead sleep, questioned me if I ever thought about hurting myself. Then didn't believe me, so wanted to send me to the psych ward for an evaluation. Doctor came in, look, I see you're just under stress. There's nothing mentally wrong with you. Go home. So
now all you did was walk. All you did was take a walk.
Yes, all I did was take a walk, but you gotta remember I was 12 years old at the time.
Okay.
But yeah, I don't understand it. And the fact they needed 5 cop cars to do that, I really don't understand that. But so we ended up going in for the transplant and everything went well. They had originally told me that my mother would be in the hospital for 3 days after, and I would be in probably a couple weeks. Surprise! The roles reversed. I ended up being in the hospital for 3 days, and my mom was in there. She wasn't eating. Doctors couldn't figure out why. It hurt like hell to walk. So she started throwing up. And and like I said, before she threw up, the resident said, you're just being lazy. You don't want to get better. Come on. You need to walk. You need to do this. You need to do this. You need to eat. Yelling at her like she's the bad guy for this. Turns out, when she started throwing up, she had a bowel obstruction.
Hey. Wow.
So she went in for immediate surgery after that. And I remember her telling me when they were wheeling her out, the resident asked, where's Julie Adams going? Oh, she's going for emergency surgery. His jaw just dropped, she said.
Oh, wow.
Easy case not to judge a book by its cover, I guess.
Yeah, really. Sheesh.
So after the transplant, I was doing pretty good. My mother eventually recovered, which is good. So we were getting ready for another surgery because I had trouble emptying my bladder. So what they were going to do is they were going to build a catheter channel out of my intestines so I could cath myself through the stomach.
Okay.
My doctor I've had since birth, unfortunately, left. He had gotten a job offer in Florida, and I would have liked if he would have told us, but I don't know if the hospital said he couldn't tell us. You know what I mean? Because that's losing patients for them. But so I'm not judging too much on that. But I ended up getting the chief of urology at this hospital. Oh, boy.
Oh, well, wow, good or bad?
Real bad.
Oh.
So the first thing he ever told my mother is, I'm not doing surgery on this kid right now. And we already were thinking it's getting scheduled. We're ready for it. And the doctor who left said it was a routine procedure. We don't understand why you're not doing this. So he eventually said, I want to get comfortable with him first, which I understand because prune belly may not be the average case. Okay. So we waited a year. He tried redilating the vesicostomy I had, which eventually fell apart. So he said, you know what? There's really nothing else we can do here. We need to do the surgery now or it'll become an emergency case. What he ended up doing was an 18-hour surgery combining... The reason it was 18 hours is it combined multiple surgeries into one. So it was another abdominoplasty. They built the catheter wall. They took out my right native and right transplanted kidney because my other transplant, my second one was on the left. So it's like 3 or 4 surgeries in one. and it was an 18-hour surgery. After I woke
Wow.
up, after I woke up, I was in pain. So I told him, and I was on morphine for a little while, like they do after a major surgery, but that didn't last long. And the pain never went away, honestly, even today. So as time went on, we kept asking, what's going on? What's going on? What's going on? Oh, it just takes him longer to recover. And they weren't even, I was admitted in the hospital at one point for 2 months, an entire summer, actually. And I had cardiology, I had nephrology, almost every department in the hospital looking at me, trying to figure out what's going on. Because after that time, I also couldn't eat. It hurt to eat. So it came down to where we eventually wanted another feeding tube put in because I wasn't getting enough nutrition and I was losing weight rapidly. And we did eventually figure out what the pain is, or I'm not going to say that. I'm just going to say we did figure out what the pain is. But it was amplified musculoskeletal pain syndrome. And they wanted me to go into this pain, I guess, type of boot camp thing. It was intense physical therapy. And after watching the video, what I got out of it is they're basically giving you more pain and higher in that pain level. So the pain you already had, you don't feel is bad.
But what does that do for the pain that you do have?
Makes it tolerable, I guess. Their theory is if they add more pain onto it, like an extreme amount more pain onto it, then when you get out of the boot camp, your pain you normally feel may not be a 10. It may be a 5 or a 4 or 2. And some have gone out saying they haven't gotten no pain from it. But the reason I was leery on this boot camp, other than the fact that it was extreme pain, my parents had to sign their rights away to me, which means they could do anything they wanted to me medically if they deemed it necessary without parents' consent.
Oh, wow.
I'm sorry, I am not for that. I think parents should be involved in their kids' care 100% of the time, at least until they turn 18.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I really wasn't for that. And luckily, my parents kind of saw through and said, no, we're not doing that. So they kept going on trying to figure out what the pain is. And eventually I got blood in my urine. Because another pain that was caused by the surgery was penile pain. And it hurt to sit or lay. It comes and goes. But now it's getting, and like I said, it happened all night. One night, I had blood in my urine. So the next day, I asked the doctor, hey, what are we going to do about this? He said, well, Michael, the blood had cleared up the next day, so we're not going to do anything about it. Must not be anything. I'm like, what the hell? There was blood in my urine, and you're not going to do anything about it? No.
Must not be anything? Sheesh.
So I eventually found out about, well, after they legalized it, medical marijuana. And I'd asked my urologist to put me on this. No, I'm not going to do that. Why? I just don't agree with the medical marijuana. Okay. During this time, I was actually in the middle of transitioning from pediatric to adult care as well. So I had this GI doctor, and I went to him. I said, look, I'm having stomach pain. I'm having this penile pain. I know you're not urology. I heard about medical marijuana. Can you please try it? He wrote me a script that day. So I stayed with this urologist for a while, regrettably. But the marijuana wasn't managing the pain either. It was helping me eat better because it was stirring up hunger, but it wasn't helping with the pain. So my aunt is actually a nurse, and it told me about something called a palliative care for pain management.
Okay.
I was like, okay, well, that should be no problem getting them with all the pain I'm in. I go to my urologist again. And I asked him, look, can we at least do palliative care? He lied to me and it said, no, we can't do palliative care. That's for end of life.
What?
Yes, he said they couldn't do palliative care because it was for end of life care. Fine.
Okay.
At that point, I wanted nothing to do with that urologist. So I transferred to another hospital in an adult setting. He didn't do nothing either. He admitted me, obviously. He wouldn't give me the palliative care. I did get it while I was in the hospital, but he would not discharge me with it. And I asked him, because he did a, what's it called? Cystoscopy on me.
Okay.
And he said he didn't find anything. So I said, no, wait, he didn't do the cystoscopy. He did a urine test, sorry. He did a urine test and it came back negative. I said, okay, what's the next plan? He said, nothing. You just have to accept there's nothing wrong with you urologically. What? All you did was run a urine test. And now you're saying you can't do anything? Yep. So I'm fed up with that doctor now.
Wow.
And I switched again. And regrettably, I end up switching to the doctor that my pediatrician told me to go to. Why I did that, I still don't know. That doctor did a cystoscopy and found that I had nephrogenic adenoma, which is basically, it can be cancerous, and it's basically tumors in the bladder and blood, and causes, it hurts to sit or lay. It had every symptom I was feeling on there except the pain while eating, obviously. But I was like, okay, good. Finally, we got a diagnosis. What can we do about it? And honestly, he didn't even tell us it was nephrogenic adenoma. He called saying the biopsy, saying that the scope didn't show anything and that I looked great. I said, okay. My mom asked specifically, and this is, read what the doctors put in their notes, please. They asked him specifically, what did the biopsy report state? And that's where he decided to say, well, it stated he had nephrogenic adenoma. Said it was basically nothing and hung up. Rushed us off the phone. So, me and my mom end up researching nephrogenic adenoma.
Right.
And found out it could be cancerous. And that it was causing all the symptoms I had. I call him back. It took a week to get a hold of him, calling 5 times a day. It came down to where the nurse called me back and I said, I don't want to talk to you. I want to talk to the doctor. It's nothing against nurses, but for this type of condition, I would prefer talking to a doctor.
Right.
She said, I'm sorry, but the doctor can't talk to you. I said, okay, well then how about this? You have exactly 1 hour to call the doctor or I'm reporting you to the medical board for not taking care of patients. Next thing I know, the doctor gives me a call back. Michael, don't you ever threaten my staff like that again. Okay, fine, I won't threaten your staff out, but what the hell are you going to do to help me? He said, fine, I'll give you this medication. Now, I'd already switched nephrology to this amazing doctor. Like I said, a lot of the doctors other than urology, and even my urologist today is amazing. But at the time, all my doctors are pretty good except urology. So I called my nephrologist because I didn't trust this doctor at this point. He already lied to me about what the biopsy, about what the scope showed. He already, you know what I mean? Already said not to threaten the staff, which I didn't. I was being honest. You got an hour. I'll send it to the medical board because you're not taking care of patients if you're leaving them like this. But so I ended up going to another urologist after I talked to my nephrologist, and he said that the prescription he had given me was an NSAID and said, you should not take that. That will kill the kidney. So before I switched doctors, I called this urologist back. Yo, this is NSAID. I can't take this. He said, sure you can. I give all my, he seriously said all his kidney patients NSAIDs. I do not understand that.
No, I don't either.
Every nephrologist in the world will tell you never give a kidney patient NSAIDs. It kills the kidney. But leaving that behind, I'm trying not to rant too much because, like I said, this is a angering story, but I ended up switching again to a urologist who took care of my dad when he had kidney stones. And he said he had knowledge about prune belly because he had worked at a pediatric hospital that sees it quite often. So I was like, okay, he just didn't like dealing with children. He didn't have the heart for it. So let me try him. He scoped within, I think, 2 or 3 months, scoped and resectioned all the tumors.
Okay.
Unfortunately, this is a recurring thing. So they said it normally recurs within a year, and I've already had it recur. Right now, he said there's limited of what he can do with cutting because they'll create scar tissue on the bladder and all that. So he wants to wait for it to get real bad before that. So I'm talking to my doctors about a central line for pain management and stuff like that right now.
Mm.
But I'm glad I was able to find that doctor because I went through 4 or 5 doctors to find him.
Right.
But I started college, and I started as a regular biology major because I thought that was the way I had to go because I wanted to be a doctor and go to medical school.
Right.
And what happened was I've been watching YouTube videos on it, and they said it doesn't matter what major you are as long as you finish the prerequisites. So in 2016, the pastor I talked about, who is like family to me, had passed away on Christmas Eve.
Oh, I'm
due
sorry.
to Agent Orange
Mm.
in church at Christmas Eve service. I didn't
Wow.
go to that because at the time my grandmother had cancer, and this was like the last time we saw her. So what happened was I got a call that night from my older brother. Mikey, I hate to give you the news, but pastor died in church today. What?
Yeah, right.
So I start crying, and I ended up writing a long message about him on Facebook just to kind of de-stress a little bit and get my feelings out there. But that was heartbreaking. And then the February after that, my grandmother passed away due to cancer.
Wow.
And then not long after that, my best friend who had prune belly from the network passed away due to suicide.
Oh, gee.
So I'm still going through some emotional issues with that.
Yeah, sure.
I know it's still been years, but I still haven't really had time to really sit and deal with it yet. But so try and think if there's anything else.
Sure.
That's honestly all I can think of right now.
Okay. Well, I got to admit, you answered a lot of the questions I had, so I got to scrap. I have to look around what I have here. I'm just looking at the questions. Let me just see here.
Yeah.
So I don't ask you something you already answered.
Yeah, it's no problem.
All right. Well, one of the things that you had asked me is that did your parents tell your family about prune belly at birth?
Yes, my entire family knew. Actually, to be honest, they told the pastor, and the pastor announced it in church. They weren't really private about it. Everybody kind of knew about my situation growing up.
Mm-hmm.
It's really, what can you do about it?
Right. So you talked about a lot of the different memories. Do you have a youngest memory?
Not really. The youngest one is probably the transplant, 3 years old. But I do. Here's the funny story: is when I was little, I was on growth hormones, and like I said, probably from age 5 to 8, they had to hold me down to give them. After 8 years old, I started giving them to myself.
Wow.
Yeah, prescribed, of course, but I started actually injecting it myself.
Okay. Now, was it like a pen kind of a thing?
Yeah, like a pen kind of thing.
Okay, because I had that for diabetes, so that's why I know about that. Wow. Okay. So, I mean, do you know how many surgeries you've had overall?
I honestly don't. I mean, guesstimate probably 20, if not more.
Right. Yeah, it's pretty common with Prune Belly in general.
Yeah.
We actually have one I just heard about the other day that's 8 years old and about to have his 40th surgery.
Yeah, I talked to his parents about that, actually.
You did?
They're really nice people.
Oh, they're great. They're really nice people. Let me see what else we got here. All right, you mentioned about being bullied and things like that. How are things physically and well, you already talked about the emotional part of it, but if you want to go into it any further.
Physically today, I mean, I really can't complain. I mean, I still have the adenoma, so the stages where I can't sit or lay still come. And like I said, they last, sometimes they come and only last 10 minutes. Sometimes I can't sit for like a week. So
How about sleeping?
there's been times I've stayed up all night because of the pain.
Wow.
And emotionally, I'm still working on it. Like I said, I still have issues with the pastor and my best friend and all that.
Yeah.
But as funny story, I was actually diagnosed with a post-traumatic stress disorder because of the last surgery.
Okay.
So I really can't stay in the hospital for too long, or I get agitated and like real I don't want to say mean, but for lack of term, I guess mean towards the doctors.
Wow. Okay, that was another question I had too. So you had PTSD. I mean, was there any kind of depression or anxiety along with that, or?
Oh, tons. Tons growing up. Like I said, the bullying really affected me mentally. And then once I had that surgery, I started hearing comments from the doctors, like the one said, I didn't promise you a rose garden. The other one, I was swole like all up here after the surgery. So they asked the plastic surgeon what they could do about that. He said, well, it's probably fluid. What do you want me to do? Cut him open and hang him upside down on his head?
What?
So hearing comments like that really did affect me mentally.
Yeah, sure. Surprised it would be a little more sensitive to things like this. Let's see here. You mentioned a brother. Do you have just the one brother?
I have two brothers and a sister.
Okay. And how are things with them in terms of Prune Belly?
I don't know. I don't want to speak for them, but I do feel like the littler ones do hold a little bit of resentment because they miss out on so much.
Right.
But it's not without understanding.
Okay, that's good. That's one thing at the Prune Belly conventions. They also have little sit-down talks with siblings.
Oh.
To get their feelings about things. What do they understand? What don't they understand?
Wow, that's amazing.
So, yeah, they try to cover a lot of different angles with that kind of thing. Let's see. So surgeries, I mean, school. Well, with feeling the PTSD and the anxiety, things like that, what would you tell other people with that?
It'll get better. Just keep pushing on. If for me, what has helped is finding really good friends you can talk to. Because like with me, I hate the idea of therapy. I've had therapists before and it's never really helped me. Okay. But just being able to have friends you can sit down and talk to honestly about everything is really a gift in itself. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's see. Well, one of the questions is, what's the toughest part with living with Prune Belly? You may have already answered that, but if you want to.
I'd say the toughest part is not many people know anything and the feeling that you're in it alone. Because, like I said, I didn't even discover the network till I was probably about 16, may have even been 18. Okay. So that was 16 years feeling like I'm the only one in this, and it's just hard.
Yeah. And a lot of, like I said, I think I told you last time, a lot of people feel that way for a long time. Yeah. It took me 35 years to find somebody else.
Yeah. Actually cried when I heard your song.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a whole. Yeah, that's why I wrote that, because I wanted people to be able to relate.
Yeah.
And, let's see. Well, all right. One question you asked me was that what are the benefits to having, if any?
Makes you stronger, I would say. It definitely I don't know who said it. I want to say it was Mark Twain. You never know how strong you can be until you have no choice but to be strong.
There you go. Absolutely. And you're a great, perfect example of, fighting for what's best for you.
Yeah.
With everything you just told me.
Yeah.
That's one thing at the conventions too. A lot of parents are told you are the best advocate for your kids, not the doctors, not anybody else. You have to fight for your kids.
Yep.
And a lot of people come out feeling a lot better about it once they hear that.
Yeah.
Okay. Relationships.
Uh,
How is that, and how long did you wait to tell somebody about it?
Well, I've probably only had 2 or 3 serious relationships. The first one, unfortunately, their parents broke us up because I got too close to the father. So she started seeing me more like a brother, and I got close to the father because he had a kidney transplant. So, and ironically, he had his right when mine was canceled.
Oh, Lord.
But I kind of saw him more like a mentor during the time, so I got real close to him and his family. And at one point, I remember one of his daughters saying that she got a little jealous because he treated me like a son.
Oh, geez.
But yeah, I got real close to him, and I think that was kind of the downfall with our relationship because aside from the mother thinking the girl was too young, she kind of started seeing me like a brother because I got so close to her father.
Okay.
And as towards the prune belly, unfortunately, everyone I've dated has known about it even before they started dating me. Because, like I said, most of them have been in the church or somewhere I work where I tell more people about it. So,
Right.
but I've never had any problem with it.
Okay, good. Let's see. I'm just going over the questions here. Okay. How has COVID affected you?
The lockdown was pretty tough. I'm not gonna lie. But after that, I really don't think it's affected me too much. I mean, I got the vaccine, and the main reason I did that is mainly because the doctors are kind of hounding me about it.
Okay.
Because I'm immunocompromised. But I did end up getting it, and it really I wouldn't say it's affected me too much.
So, you got COVID? You said?
No, I never got COVID. I got the vaccine.
I got you. I'm sorry.
No
Didn't want to say the wrong thing. Did you get all 3? Did you get the 2 and the booster?
No, I didn't get the booster. My doctors are hounding me about it, but I'm just not sure right now.
Okay. Okay. Let's see. Is prune belly becoming more common with time?
I've noticed more people with it, honestly, but that could be because I found the network. So
I was about to ask you that. Is that from the network, or do you just sign that
it's mainly it's mainly from the network, but I did meet one at a camp I went to as a child. And it's funny because he had the same doctors as me. So I told him, well, have you ever heard of a Prune Belly Syndrome? Said, yeah, I have that. So,
really?
Yeah.
Huh. Wow.
So,
huh.
But outside of the network, I say I've only met one.
Okay. Wow. I'll tell you something too. About 15 years ago or so, I had a local magazine do a quick little article about things I was doing to help with benefits and raise funds and raise awareness. And a friend of mine who was helping me with some of the fundraisers had to go to the hospital for a panic attack. And she happened to wear a Prune Belly t-shirt that I had given her. She went into the hospital, local to here, and the woman who was helping her saw the shirt. She says, "Oh, prune belly, I just saw an article about that, about some guy locally who has prune belly. I never heard of it before." And she goes, "Well, it's funny you never heard of it before because he was born in this hospital." And she was like, "Oh, okay." So that shut her up pretty quick.
Yeah, and I think that's the main problem with this disease is unless you have it or know someone with it, you probably don't know what it is.
Exactly.
Or haven't even heard of it.
Right. That's why, different ways to find awareness is key.
Yep.
To
Part
do that.
Part of the reason I started this YouTube channel.
There you go. And it's great that you have, because it really puts it out there a lot more than anybody's able to. So this is perfect.
Thanks.
Let me see. Oh, well, I was going to say any advice for prune belly people, but you kind of covered that already. But do you want to cover any more with that?
Only thing I can say is stay strong, lean on your family, lean on your friends. They're there to help you, and research everything the doctors say and really read what's in your records, because like with me, there are some things they've kept out.
Right. All right. And now you mentioned that you're a student.
Yes.
You said for medicine. Well, for what kind of fields are you looking to go into?
I'm looking to become a physician, and part of the reason why is I kind of want to deal more with rare diseases. I want to deal with prune belly patients, work on them, and research and hopefully find things that I don't want to say make them normal, because I hate using that term, but give them more normal of a life.
That's great. That's perfect. Let me see. So with that, do you want to focus on prune belly, or you want more just on rare conditions in general?
More rare conditions in general.
Okay. That's great. Is there anything else you want to add that I haven't asked you?
No, I think I covered it all.
Okay. This has been great. That's pretty much, I mean, like I said, I had other questions, but you pretty much covered them already. So, which is great that you did. That's pretty much it for that I have. Trying to think if there's anything else to cover that I have seen. You haven't been to a convention yet, you said, right?
No, I haven't. I really want to go, but it's kind of like a financial issue.
Right. Yeah, no, I understand that. We were doing a lot of Zoom calls for a while. We haven't done them lately, but we got to start getting into that again. Definitely want to have you be part of that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sometimes it's just prune belly survivors just talking casually, comparing their own stories to different people. Every once in a while, we have the head of the research in Dallas join us, and she'll do a whole presentation. Dr.
Baker, right?
Yes. Once in a while, she joins us, and she's joined us about 2 or 3 times so far, and has a whole presentation made up to show everybody.
That's great.
Especially for people who haven't been able to get to the conventions. So we definitely want to try to have her on there again. Actually, I'm going to try to see if I can ask her to do this one, to do this with you.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that'd be very, very helpful to a lot of people.
Yeah, I'll definitely post to the network if that happens and see if there's any questions they got.
There you go. Perfect. And I'll also offhand, I'll also send you the ones we saved, the Zoom calls that she did with us already. So I'll send you those too. So you can watch through those. And then, this way, if you're able to have her on, you can ask her from seeing that, anything you want to know.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Aside from that, I'm pretty much covered here. And thank you for doing this. Thank you for asking me to help with this. You're doing great. You're doing really great work with getting, talking to people and getting their stories. People need to hear other people's stories.
Yeah, thank you. It was definitely, you were an amazing host.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Next time, tune in. Mike is back in the host seat, and to getting everybody's stories out there. So thanks for watching. And see you soon, hopefully.
All right, let's play the theme song, I guess.
For a long time, I seemed unique from a very early age, asking why, feeling weak, living within a cage, wondering if I am the only one.
What was I supposed to make of my limitations? How much more should I take of this situation? Can it be I am the only one?
The only one. The only one.
All throughout, I found out what love's about, leaving no doubt I'll survive. Channel the drive, not deprived. Feel alive.
Do you know how it feels to be different? At times you think you are the only one who exists with the pain of not being the same. When you got brothers and sisters that don't share the same last name or share the same blood or share the same battle. Some days are real good, some days are just a hassle. Operations to doctor visits, you are not alone. So I wrote this to let you know you don't have to be alone.
The only one.
You don't have to be
The
alone.
only one.
These days, there are ways through the haze to sing His praise. We gather here with prayers held dear, wanting to erase all pain, death, and fear. Lord, please help them see. No one seems to have heard just how this came to be. We need to spread the word.
Show the world I'm not the only one. No, no. Thank you, Lord. Thank you, Lord, for this community. Thank you, Lord, for the thread we share. Thank you, Lord, for this unity. Thank you, Lord, for the power of care. Thank you,
The
Lord.
Prune Belly Syndrome Network is a volunteer organization devoted to patient support and education of the medical community about this rare condition.
1 in 40,000 live births result in Prune Belly Syndrome, and all of them have all or some of their abdominal muscles missing.
50% will not survive their second birthday.
Our goal is to change the medical profession's perception of Prune Belly Syndrome as a hopeless condition
and to educate and promote an interest among the community to do further research into the causes of the syndrome
and more effective treatments.
www.prunebelly.org.
You can help.
Thank you, Lord, for this community. Thank you, Lord, for the thread we share. Thank you, Lord, for this unity. Thank you, Lord, for the power of care. Thank you, Lord, for showing me I'm not the only one.
If you don't know what Prune Belly is, please go to www.prunebelly.org